In this module, we'll review the key features of the coaching portal. In your first quarter at Working with Carrot, you'll be assigned a coach buddy who's going to be basically be the person you go to anytime you have any questions related to coaching or in operations, but you're really going to be shadowing them and watching their day-to-day operations. Now, as a reminder, you can always go to your direct manager or you can come to me for additional support if you have any questions related to the coaching portal. Now, the coaching portal is built in-house and it's continually getting updated with new features as the app continues to update as well, and also as the sensor gets updated. So we're always constantly making sure that not only are you getting all the latest information that the app is displaying and the sensor, but also that we're updating it to make sure that it is effective and efficient use of your time as possible to execute really great techniques for coaching and tobacco cessation. Now, we work in conjunction with a product team, engineering, and design team to build this product, so it's a really cross-functional work. Now, the coaching portal is basically a management tool that's going to be storing and housing all of the user's data in a highly secure HIPAA-compliant system. And this data equips you with the necessary resources to engage in a coaching interaction. And it's powered by a platform with an in-app chat that we use called Sendbird. And we're going to walk through some of the bells and whistles of the app itself, or the portal itself. Now, this is a screenshot with a lot of layers on top. So when you get into the coaching portal, it's not going to exactly look like this. It's not going to have all these things wrapped out. But essentially what I'm going to do is walk you from left to right here so you can start to understand some of the columns. And keep in mind that we will be redesigning this in the new year, but it's going to take us some time to make sure that it's going to be very an iterative process. But the first thing I want to highlight that's seen in yellow is where your coach schedule will be. So when you click on that, which you'll see in the next screen, it'll be a drop down of all the list of users that you have that you need to be talking to today and tomorrow and the upcoming weeks. The thing below it says active, inactive, and archive, and we're going to go through what those definitions mean in a few later slides. But essentially, you can start to display all of your active users. You can see which users are inactive and which users you've actually said goodbye to. You also have underneath that, the first column is flags. And so flags, as of right now, when you click on a user's profile, you'll see you have an option to write your clinical notes as well as flags. And you can set this as a high or low priority based on your judgment. So if a user tells you something like their quit date's coming up soon and you want to make a quick note that you can see it at a glance of all your users, you can put that there. If a user is sick or you skipped a touch point for any random reason, or they have some special occasion that you want to remember so it doesn't get buried in your clinical notes, you can put it here. And you're able to resolve that at any time. The next column is the pivoter's name. The third column is a tag associated with what the user has done. So there's only 2 important tags right now. Some of these tags are old and out of date, which we will change in the near future. But the 2 tags that you need to be aware of are new pivoter. So obviously anyone that's came into the program, and welcome back. Welcome back is anyone that you put in inactive that sent you a message and they go from inactive to active. It's an automated system. The third column we're additionally going to be changing, so it's not something that you need to really focus on. But the last 2 columns, access code and messages. Access codes essentially are what clinical trial are they part of? Are they a direct-to-consumer trial, or are they a client, and what the client's access code name is. And the final column is the messaging, so the number of messages that a user sent you, and you'll be able to see that also in your schedule. So this is a coach schedule. I've just zoomed in a little bit more. So as you can see at the far top, that's where all of your new pivoters, when you get assigned somebody, that's where they'll stay. When user sends you a message, they'll go into your inbox. If you're able to talk to that user today, and they're not a new user, they're not a new pivoter, they haven't sent you a message, they'll be in your today's schedule. Anybody that has went from inactive to active that sent you a message will also be there. Anyone that's scheduled to talk to you tomorrow, and the rest of your pivoters. So this is in order for a particular reason, because we want you to reach out to your new pivoters first. Second, we want you to reach out to anybody that has sent you a message overnight. And then thirdly, get to all of your pivoters that you're scheduled for today. And then finally, if anybody has sent you a message that has been MIA for a little while, you want to get to them as well. Ideally, we try to get to our pivoters within 24 hours. Now, when you go onto a pivoter's profile, as you can see, Don and Ron are in yellow. That means that they have not had a schedule associated with their name. So you click on that, you're able to click schedule. A calendar populates. If I click today's date, which is the 22nd of November, I will see on my schedule that they are populated into that date. And Ron will continue to remain yellow until I save his to till I schedule a new time to chat with him. So you'll need to do this continuously. In the future, we'd like to make this automated, but as for right now, it's a very manual process. As you also can see, there's a phone call. So you can click that and it'll indicate on that user's profile if they have a call coming up. So we have a new system called Calendly that we're going to be testing out for the next 60 to 90 days. We have not implemented this yet, so we'll be doing this in the new year. But essentially what you do, we'll walk through in the LMS system how to set that up. But this is what a user will see. So they'll see that you've requested a call with them. They'll select a time. They'll get a text message reminder, and this will get placed on your Google Calendar. So you want to make sure the calendars are matching. So it is a bit more manual at the current time, and it's something we're going to test and try to automate. Now, we're going to get into the bells and whistles of the actual portal and what you see. There's a ton of stuff on this slide, so keep in mind I've actually clicked every single option I have open, so when you get to the portal, you're not going to see all these options open again. But the first thing that you see is the user's name, their access code, which is D2C, and what type of D2C are they. So this one was a free pivot September. They're currently active, but if I click to the name right next to them, I could move them down to inactive, or I could move them to archive. As you can see in my notes, next week I would be moving them down to inactive because they've been inactive for almost 21 days. And so I can also see when the last time they were in the app and have done something. I also see some other information that eventually would get hidden when we redesign this feed, but you can see their phone number, if they've opted into text messaging, which we were doing an experiment with in the future, so that's not really helpful information now, their email, their access code, or their user ID, and then some basic information, so like that she's a female, her age, and where she's located. Eventually, we're going to have this time zone stamped to their current time. You also have scripts, which we'll go through in the next slide, but scripts essentially are going to help you with day-to-day operations. This is also where you can file a bug, and we'll have another module on how to do that. This is where you would do it here and able to take screenshots, and then FAQs. So FAQs are where if a user has a question about sensors, you can actually copy and paste that information into the coach chat, which is on the far right. And as you can see, all of my stuff is in green, and anything that they sent me is in is in gray. If, for instance, I have not read their message, this would be highlighted in yellow, and you would actually have a tab up here that says mark all, marked all read. You can also see when the user has read your message and when it gets delivered as well. These are where our clinical notes live. This is where we were talking about flags earlier. You can resolve them, you can discard them, as well as we have this feature here so that we can save these in the near future. This is where you can set the priority. Here is where you'll see all the stages. So again, this is very dated. We have now moved away from Explore to Sustain. We're now at Learn, Build, and Quit. This will be revamped in the new year, but the actions are very relevant too. So you can click on one of these and it'll display any of the items you've seen here. But the feed will always show the last thing the users did in the app itself. You also can click here and you can see logs of any of their CO logs, any of their SIG history, as well as any NRT orders, but you can also see that on the feed as well. Eventually, we're only going to we'll have this more graphically displayed. But the coaching scripts, again, they talk about day-to-day operations, types of pre-quit topics, post-quit topics, and how to close out some conversations. So for you to understand, once a user onboards, just kind of getting a little bit more nitty-gritty here. A user will onboard. I will see that tag generated. I will assign them to you. You will see that in your coach portal under New Pivoter. Then you have 24 hours to contact that pivoter by saying welcome and sending them your Calendly link, which we want you to update every 2 weeks of your availability. And then you'll be talking to them like on a loose schedule 1 to 2 times a week, which we're going to go over a little bit later. We're still working on that right now. And then some basic information, as you already know. Our chats are as of right now once a week. We're going to move it to twice a week in the near future and experiment with that as well. But the current ratio for coaching is 125-1, with the stretch goal for next year to get to 150-1. Our basic process is, again, welcoming the user, doing a basic phone call, which all this information is in the scripts. Our touch points, which we are going to be moving now to twice a week, but as of right now, they're once a week for every 30 days until they hit for every month until they hit a 30-day PPA. And then once they've hit that 30 days of being smoke-free, you'll go every other week until they hit 60 days, and then you'll go once a month until they exit the program. And then if they're inactive, meaning they haven't done anything in the app for more than 21 days, and again, you'll be able to see that here at the top where it says last active, you're able to send them a pause message, and and you can move them over to inactive. Once they've exited the program or they've been gone for more than 60 days, you will also send them a message saying goodbye and then archiving the user. Now, there's a few features that we will be implementing, and I've kind of highlighted some of that throughout this presentation, but we're going to be redesigning this feed here. We're also going to be adding what type of tobacco user they are. So if they smoke cigarettes, if they're vape only, if they're doing smokeless, if they're a dual user. We'll also be putting the duration here. So on this little area as well. So like if they're in a 2-month program, 3-month program, 6-month program, like how much time do they have left of coaching? Finally, under where it says logs and orders, we are actually going to drop orders because you have that already in your feed and you can click on that as an action statement, but we're going to put in all of the web registration. We're also going to start graphing out CO dashboard, so you'll be able to see that trend. And then the app has actually just recently added reasons behind why people log a cigarette. So if they were stressed out, if it was a routine or something like that. We've also re-updated the practice quit, so that data will be implemented shortly as well. But this is a very brief overview. Again, you're going to get shadowed. You're going to be able to shadow a senior trainer here, a coach that's been doing this for a while, and you will have your manager and myself if you have any questions, but it's just going to take some time to kind of get through and find your own process.